Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. I'm back, everyone.
He's back.
Sorry about yesterday. I did not have open face surgery. That was the good news. I did have a root canal. But that actually was a good outcome, honestly, because I started getting scared that maybe it was something else. And I'm like, oh, man, they're going to open my face up. I don't need that. Who needs that? Nobody needs that. I've had jaw surgery before. It was a long time ago. And that was a terrible recovery, like horrible, terrible recovery. Like couldn't feel my top jaw for 6 months, ate soft food for a long time. I've told the story before when I was in the hospital recovering and there was an overflow, so I was on the psych ward and some crazy person came in my room that night.
I haven't heard that one.
I haven't told you this?
I haven't heard this one.
I'll do the very quick version.
We've been working together a while. I've not heard about psych ward Bram.
I'll do the very quick version of this. So I had my teeth were I had an underbite when I was a kid. So they did all sorts of orthodontics to move my bottom jaw back. Mm-hmm. And then I guess they didn't do it enough because my teeth were like literally hitting. Like my top jaw didn't go over my bottom jaw. So as I got older, like my teeth started to chip or move a little bit and they realized like that's the problem here. So just natural chewing like was a problem. So they told me I had to move my top jaw forward. And they do this by breaking it in multiple places, moving it millimeters.
Of course.
And then if you saw, and then they put it back together, and if you saw on an x-ray, if you've ever seen an x-ray of my jaw, it looks like Frankenstein. Like there's all these screws and hardware in my jaw.
Because it tightens everything up in the way that it needs to be tightened up.
And keeps it there. Yeah. Right. 20 years later, hopefully this hardware is, medically sound because it's in my face.
I forget which way I had to do it, but I would have had the equivalent of a headgear, but now there's no headgear. It's just a little rubber bar that goes on the side now.
Yeah, I had the headgear. Okay. I was tortured. I slept with a headgear when I was a kid. That's supposed to push my jaw back. It was stupid.
Now the headgear is literally two little rubber, like, I don't even know how to describe them. Either way, just not naturally, but that's all it does. It takes away all the headgear, and that's what I had. So, a lot of people have
Aaron Rodgers is listening to this going, see?
Yeah.
Like, how stupid were you? You believe these dumb people? Why do you believe they made you wear a headgear when you were 12, idiot? With rubber bands pulling your top, jaw forward, supposedly, whatever. Right. So I had this surgery done, and as you might imagine, when they break your jaw, that the recovery of that isn't great. They did not wire it shut. Some people get it wired shut. Had I had both jaws done, they would have, but they didn't in my case. They're like, but you're going to be in a lot of pain. And they were right about that. So I described my jaw as feeling like a piece of wood. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't feel anything. You would chew something, but you can't feel. It's weird. It's hard to describe. You'd have this sensation like you don't think you're chewing it, but you are.
Got it.
And then they tell you, for a long time, like you have to eat soft foods, scrambled eggs, applesauce, milkshakes, all sorts of things to not, mess with the jaw, whatever. And it's tremendously painful, right? Tremendously painful. So as of about a week ago, I started feeling pain in my upper left jaw. And I'm like, oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Well, because I'm PTSD'd by this thing. Oh, well, let me get to the story. I forgot to tell the story part of it.
Yeah.
So because this was a pretty major surgery, I had to stay in the hospital overnight. And in this particular time period, I guess there just were a lot of people in the hospital. So they stuck me on a floor that was right next to the psych ward in the hospital. I
shouldn't laugh, but
I'm on so many drugs, I'm in a lot of pain and I'm in so many drugs and I can't really talk, right? Because like my mouth is like,
this is Twilight Zone level stuff.
Really bad, right? Really bad. So at some point in the evening, like my eventual wife was there and my mother was there and all I hear is this woman like outside my door like trying to get by my wife and trying to get by a nurse going, that's my husband, let me in. And I'm going, no. Like I can't even talk. Can't move my mouth. No. And she's like, that's my husband.
Just
like,
losing her mind. Well, because it's
screaming
at
me.
It is the psych ward.
Yeah. So fortunately, they didn't let her in. Fortunately, because who knows what she would have done. And
Is Heather about to throw hands?
I don't know. I don't remember. I was so out of it. I just remember waking up to a psychopath trying to get into my room claiming I'm her husband. It was nuts. Anyway.
Sounds like a great experience.
A really great experience. So anyway, that took a long time to get over that. So I'm PTSD'd about anything with my mouth now. And also because what I do for a living, the idea of anything being done to my mouth is frightening.
That's right, exactly.
So when I started having this jaw pain, I'm like, oh, crap. Like it wasn't like it's just some little thing or whatever. No, it was like shooting headaches up the side of my face. And I'm like, oh, God. So I went to see the dentist, and the dentist was like, I don't see anything in particular. But, those screws that were put in your mouth 20 years ago are visible, and the area you're complaining about is around that. So we need to have you go see a specialist. So the whole night I'm like, here comes open face surgery. I've got some kind of infection where these screws are, and they're going to have to open my face up to get them out and replace them or whatever. And then if they're replacing those, they're going to replace all of them. I'm like, oh, God, no, God, no. So I went to see the specialist, and the specialist hopefully thinks, and I think today because I'm here, he's like, nah, you just need a root canal in one of your teeth, which sucks. Yeah. But that was actually a very good outcome comparatively.
Fair enough.
But it happened in the middle of the afternoon, and my mouth was numb, so I would have been,
right.
Hey, how'd it go? You want to trade Jon Allen or what? Like, it would have been that. But here I am today. So I'm feeling all right. They gave me pretty good pain medication, and I'm feeling all right about the whole thing.
Good. I'm glad.
Here we are.
Happy that you didn't have open face surgery.
Did not have open face surgery, and I don't have splitting headaches today. So
that's good, too.
That's a good sign. They also didn't have to take my tooth out, which is sometimes with these root canal things, they tell you that. So here I am at 51 talking about the terrible things that start happening at this age now. My teeth might fall out. Fortunately, it didn't.
It didn't happen. You're
good. I'm good.
I think you went the route that I would have went, though. You have to think of what the worst case scenario is. And
I start freaking out.
And just hope it's not that.
On day 3 of splitting headaches, and you go jaw pain, and you Google that.
Yeah, it's over.
You have a tumor in your face.
That's right. Yeah, mouth cancer.
Your brain doesn't work anymore.
That's right.
If you don't do something about this now, you'll have a stroke.
Right.
It's like, oh my God.
Brain aneurysm. Yeah.
Terrible. Aneurysms, heart attacks,
of course,
tumor in face.
Yeah, never Google.
And I'm picturing they're going to take a tangerine out of my face.
Never Google it anymore.
No, it's just a root canal. Yeah. People have had them forever. And the guy who did it yesterday did a lovely job. Very gentle. Nice man.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, nice man.
I would hope so.
I think he was a little surprised because yesterday he was like, well, this is what I think we need to do. And I go, I already cleared my afternoon, buddy. Do it right now. And he looked at me like, really? And I'm like, yeah, do it right now.
Yeah.
I want this over with.
Get it over with.
Get it over with. Yeah. So they did it, and I had the afternoon off. So there you go.
There you go. Okay.
Now I'm back. I woke up today to find out that the salary cap went up tremendously because the NFL is very popular, because something happened with COVID with money given back to them, and because TV rights deals are going up. And I don't know, Amazon just paid an ungodly sum of money just for one playoff game, which makes me go, I'm not getting paid enough to call these things. If they're paying $150 million, I should be getting one, shouldn't I? Just $1 million.
Well, the players are going to have a say in that first. So
fine, they get okay. All right, let's just say they get half of it. All right, it's still $75 million left. How did I not get $1 million? $1 million for that playoff game, please. That's my new demand. I need to get an agent, talk to him about it.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so it goes way up, which is good for everybody, which is what I don't know that it's bad for us, but I do think because we have a tremendous amount of cap space, and now we just got more of it, that this does, it's going to do one of two things. It does level it out a little bit. So we have a lot of cap space,
everyone's got
but now
back.
Everybody just got this little extra bonus. Right. They just got some free money that they didn't know they were going to have, which helps them make decisions for the teams that are tight against the cap, helps them make some decisions a little easier, and also gives them a little, sweatpants money to work with to potentially go out and do something that they probably weren't thinking they were going to do.
They will not spend it on Doritos.
No. It also does this. And this is why I don't think we should be in the market to get a free agent quarterback. Not that I thought we were going to anyway. Their number is going to go up. In fact, I'm not sure which position group's number is going to go up, but it is. Like, this is going to alter a position group. Not unlike what happened with receivers 2 years ago when McLaurin got a deal that I don't think they expected to have to give him. They were going to give him a top-tier deal. They didn't think the top tier was going to be that. I haven't figured out which tier that's going to be yet, But there's going to be a tier of players that are going to get some surprising money in the next few weeks because the cap went up, and therefore, whatever the competition is to get these guys, their numbers are going to change. So this is good and bad for Washington. We got more money, but it helps out some of the teams in a way that it really shouldn't. And the players obviously are going to benefit here in that some class of player is going to get more money than we probably anticipated as of 3 weeks ago.
The joke already was that Kirk Cousins is like rubbing his hands together because he's going.
That 50 million number's low.
Yeah, he's going.
I think I'm getting 52. Well,
the joke was like, oh, that jumped to 60. Because somebody's going to start bidding for him or whatever. The other
because it probably put a couple people back on the table that didn't think they'd be back on the table because of the cap space increase. So this changes the dynamic significantly for everybody. And if there was ever a year that I wish this didn't happen, it was this year because of the cap space we had. It was an advantage. It still is. Like we still have way more money than most.
Yeah.
But I think it brings a couple people to the table for free agents that wouldn't have been there initially because they now have spending money.
The other, reporting out there, too, is that now you're going to have teams that are not going to hesitate to use franchise tags on players that maybe not have warranted it a week ago, essentially. Right.
And those franchise tag numbers aren't going to be up to date with what the cap number is. And so it's actually more affordable to use them now. So that's interesting on Cam Curl because he's the only one I can think of on the Washington roster that really qualifies as somebody that you would consider putting a franchise tag on. And I still kind of don't think they should, but I also don't want to lose him because the number has changed for a lot of people. And I'm really, really, really interested to see what he gets.
Yeah.
And because the cap went up exponentially, his number also will go up a little bit more than probably he could have gotten on the market because it's opened the door for some people. So he may be like McLaurin was a couple years ago, where we all know he's good. He's not the best, like we all know he's good, but his number may be more in line with what his dad tweets about now than it was 3 weeks ago, mainly because of market conditions. So this is good for the players. This is not bad for Washington. Except on the side of, I think there are a couple of teams that are probably in a better position than they were, significantly better position than they were, and that's surprising to them, and therefore changes their ability to go shopping.
Right.
And so that hurts us just a little bit. The other thing I saw, and again, like there's so many these reports running around, I don't know what exactly, to believe with any of it. But Jon Allen's name came up again. I don't know if you saw this. I think this was Bleacher Report, actually. So this was like a legitimate news source that does this. And they put his name out there, and they suggested Green Bay would be hot and heavy to try to get him.
Okay.
And that the price tag would be something like a second or a fourth round pick or something like that, and they would take the contract. I would look at this and go, we have nobody even remotely close to as good as him.
Yep.
Payne is, but you have to have two. And I think, will Fedarian Mathis be considerably better with this staff than he was here? You're betting on something.
That's a hell of a bet.
He hasn't really done very much, as a second-round pick.
And then, I was going to say, the track record of picking players for the last regime is not great. So.
Guys on the defensive line, the number's going to go up. So if you are going to get rid of this contract in some way and then go out in the open market, you're going to pay the same, if not more.
Cost prohibitive, yeah.
You're probably not going to get with someone of his caliber, but I'm just mentioning it because his name popped up again. And I don't know, more and more, I don't think this is the year to do that with him. I think we just make nice. Hopefully he sees the light with we're building something here and he's not as frustrated as he was. And if Mathis had turned into what I think they were hoping he was going to turn into, I would actually make a case for it's probably time to do it. But I don't think they need to weaken themselves any more than they already are. I think this cap room needs to be done to make the team better, not fill a hole by making a hole.
Yeah,
that's what feels like would happen if they traded him. But I'm just mentioning it because his name popped up again, and it really slowed down. At the end of the season, I was kind of on the, we need to have a long conversation with him about whether he wants to be here or not. And if he doesn't, then let's talk about what the future looks like for him and us and what that is. He has really changed his tune and gotten very quiet. He did the one public thing with the other stations in that event and basically said, I do want to be here, and I was just frustrated. But, and then he did that event, which, obviously, why would you do that if you didn't want to be here? And then he's been very quiet since. So I'm hoping they made nice, and he and Joe Witt got to meet, Dan Quinn got to meet, and they all said, come on, get on board, everything's changing, and we really like you, and you're a really good player. Ownership, they've been talking to him. Yep. That was one of the reasons why I kind of recoiled at the way he acted last year. Was he was one of them that was spoken to as a team leader. Right. He didn't seem to be taking that responsibility very seriously last year. It was like, come on, man,
right. Get with it. Yeah,
come on, you have a direct pipeline to them because they want to talk to you, because they want your opinion, because they think you're part of the future, and you're acting like you're not. So that's not good. So I'm just pointing out that it was out there again. And I can't envision wanting to move off of him unless you think last year was a sign of his play moving forward, which I'm kind of hoping is not the case.
Right.
Because he wasn't the player that he was the year before. The year before, he was one of the best at his position. I was even arguing by midseason, he's having an all-pro year, best at his position. And then last year was not the case.
Right.
And I think there was a lot going on, frustration and injuries. It was undersold the whole year. He had plantar fasciitis back in summer, and I think he got injured in a couple games, and he was fighting through all that stuff. And I'd like to think okay, let's just do a redo, and maybe he'll be back to the way he was, and he's a very good player. But if you do think him creeping up on 30, that there's a diminishing return, there will be a reason to think about it. But on the other side, who's his replacement?
Right.
Because I don't know who that is.
There is none.
Yeah, I don't see it on the roster at all.
Not to mention there is not a leadership replacement for him either. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but Payne has never really demonstrated that he's a captain type.
I don't think he wants that.
Correct. And that's fine. It's not a knock for him. But
he shows up and plays.
But other than him, than Allen, I don't see a defensive captain either. So you're going to have to get a new leader for the defense. And I don't know who that becomes. That's you re-sign Fuller or whoever that could be.
I'd be interested to talk to Quinn about this. Who's the leader of the Dallas defense? Because there's been a lot of people are hitting Micah Parsons pretty hard.
Don't ask Emmitt Smith.
No, I mean people are hitting Micah Parsons really hard.
Yeah, right.
Because he puts himself out there, and then he seems to have a lot of excuses for a lot of things. And everyone's going, "I thought you were Lawrence Taylor," and you're
right.
not. You can play like him sometimes, but you don't seem to act like him. Mm-hmm. And is Diggs the leader? I don't know. He missed the year. Who knows? Is Lawrence the leader? Doesn't seem like he seems like Payne. He's the guy who shows up, plays hard, but he's not rah-rah. You're not seeing interviews with him every week, or he's not the one pushing out the narratives or whatever. He just is I'm a guy who shows up here and plays hard. So that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's Quinn and Witt become for a year at least, the de facto leader. I'm with you, though. I think what you're getting at and what I believe is that when the leadership comes from the locker room, that's when you have a winning team.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
You need the players to take ownership of it. Right. They need to be the leaders.
And with Allen, outside of last year, and I think last year everybody was frustrated. Terry McLaurin was frustrated week 3 last year. Allen, despite being beaten down by losing so much here, has never lost the I want to go out there and kick your ass. I want to go out there and be a professional. He has never, ever deviated off of that path. And that tells me that is your de facto leader. So that's a replacement that you got to, that you have to replace.
Yes.
So.
And he also, when he's at his best, is best in class player at his position.
Right.
And,
exactly.
I don't know that we have a lot of those guys.
Correct.
So,
They don't, because they never drafted a single one.
Well, I mean, and we just traded away Montez Sweat, who isn't the best defensive end, but he's a really good one.
Right.
And we don't have a replacement for him. So I don't, at some point, the idea of, if we traded him, and I told you 2 years ago, only one of those 4 is going to be remaining against Deron Payne, who would have believed that?
No one. I wouldn't have believed you at all.
Who would have believed that?
We all assumed he was odd man out. Yeah.
And he'd be the lone man standing out of the whole thing?
Right.
He's not going anywhere because they just gave him a contract, so that's not going to happen. So anyway, that one's out there. And then there are this is also interesting from the cap cut perspective. I don't think it should change your opinion of whether you should make a move on, say, and the two that are prominent to me are Charles Leno and Logan Thomas. There are significant cap savings with both if you were to do that. But with all this extra money that just popped up again, and again, in both cases, in Logan Thomas's case, again, you got to find his replacement.
Yep.
I know he's been hurt a lot the last couple of years, and that's probably the biggest fear. And you're paying him not a premium, but a good enough number. And there's a significant savings by moving on, but don't think anyone thinks Cole Turner is his replacement.
That's right.
Right?
Yep, right.
Bates is not a pass-catching tight end, albeit I think a very good tight end, but more of a blocking tight end than anything, with decent hands. But he's not he's not stretching the field.
Yeah.
Like, he's not this modern tight end that, like, these guys are stretching the field. He's not that for them. Is Armani Rogers off of that?
I'm not buying anyone else in that tight end room. I mean,
Correct. Like, that's so, again, so now this cap space situation makes you maybe think about some of these guys a little bit differently. Like, do you need the room for this year? If you have this much cap space and you don't have his replacement, why make a hole when you don't need to? And with Leno, I think that one's even more complicated. Like, he's scheduled to make something in like $15 million, which for a tackle is not that high. But again, he's also not a top tier tackle, like, being fair, you know. And there's a significant savings if you were to release him. But who exactly is on the roster that is the starting left tackle of the team? And that could change in the next, you know, free agency or more likely the draft. Why would you do it?
Until you get the player in here. Yeah, there's no reason to do it right now.
Right. Are you making a hole that you can't possibly fill? Like, Cornelius Lucas is a free agent too, but no one thinks he's a starting left tackle for 17 games. They don't have anybody in the system unless Braden Daniels somehow magically becomes a very different player than he was last summer. And I'm not even sure he was going to be a tackle anyway. Like, there is nobody there. So this is a really strange spot to be in, where I thought they were going to do all of these different things. And now, because they got this kind of bonus check right before free agency started,
stimmy.
They got a stim check. And they don't have to pay it back.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do now. I think there's a lot of teams that are looking at this and got this, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well. Right. Like, I was just hearing the show before us go, you know, maybe the Chiefs don't have to make a decision between Jones and Snead anymore.
That's right, yeah.
And this is why this helps everybody. Like, all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're like, oh, well, in that case, we can either maintain, not make a hard decision, or do a little shopping we didn't anticipate we were going to be able to do.
With Logan Thomas, too, I wouldn't overlook the fact, though, they're going to draft a quarterback, and the pacifier for all quarterbacks is a professional tight end.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's going to play himself into sticking around because they can't risk not having a professional tight end in here. And he is also a smart player, has always said the right things, too. I remember Rivera raved about him like 2 years ago about how he's starting to understand concepts a little bit more instead of just running plays. Yeah. So
Logan's like, he's a high character guy. Everybody loves him.
Right.
You
so
know,
you need
those guys. He's had
a
lot of injuries.
Sure. But you still need those guys.
You know, and again, you have to think about the draft here, too. They have a lot of high picks. People are finding these very effective tight ends.
Sure.
You know, I think Brock Bowers is going to be a first-round pick. He's not going to be our first-round pick unless for some reason we trade down and we compile a lot of, you know, draft capital. He won't be our first-round pick. But guys like Laporta and Jake Ferguson and these other guys are being found in Luke Musgrave, second, third round, stretch the field, very capable tight ends. I mean, maybe that's part of the plan, that they'll go get a rookie. If we're going to have a rookie quarterback, then we go get a rookie.
Yeah.
And then I'll get to this at 4 o'clock, but like, there's like the hot and heavy report on Atlanta is that they're not going after Fields. They want Drake May. And so that's us.
Yeah, right.
Do we talk to them?
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the price they're willing to pay?
Right.
And it means we're not getting any of those 3 quarterbacks if we do it, but it drops us to 8 and gives us a tackle.
That's right. Yep.
So, and who knows what with it. Like, the weirdest part about, you know, the Bears thing is we're the team that's going to get the phones ringing off the hook if they just trade Justin Fields and then everybody knows what they're doing.
That's right. Yeah, it's on to the next team, which is us. Yeah.
Right. And somebody's going to want Drake May as badly as somebody wants Caleb Williams or as badly as someone wants Jaden Daniels.
Right.
And so we're the ones that are going to have to make the tough decision. Do we love this guy enough? And there might be a price for us where if you're going to give us a historic return, like the Bears like to say, well, I think we have to think about that.
Sure. No, I've said this from the get-go that, you know, despite them needing a really legit franchise quarterback, and they could have their pick of the 3, and the talk of the last week, too, has been
they'll have their pick of 2, probably. Most realistically.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
Sorry. What I was going to, it was to my next point, was that the talk this week has been they're all very close together. That, like, the drop-off from 1 to 1 to 1 is not crazy. That, like, yes, Caleb Williams is touted as the 1-1 guy, but the drop off to the next 2 isn't this insane, like, oh, you're getting the second or the third quarterback. You can find your franchise quarterback there. What I've gotten to at this point, though, is
I don't know. I mean, do you want Mahomes or Herbert? Because that's what it feels like, and they're both really good, except that one seems to do special things.
One could cost you 3 years worth of first round picks, though.
Correct.
But what I was gonna get to is you have to look at you have to tell the whole story that the roster is in such shambles that, like, do you blame Adam Peters for trading down because he needs to fill in so many holes on the roster? Like, I wouldn't. And if he gets a historic haul for number 2, I wouldn't be mad at it. I want to go quarterback, but if he trades back, I trust him.
I'll go over this, but I think if for some reason the Bears trade Fields and actually don't select Caleb Williams because they choose one of the other two,
right.
I want Caleb Williams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And if they aren't going to do that, which is what everyone expects them to do, is to take Caleb Williams, well, then I do think we have to have this conversation if Atlanta or the Raiders or somebody's going to call because they're dying to get one of those other 2 quarterbacks, and the haul is extraordinary.
Right.
I think we need to think about that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Bram Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. Just saw a tweet from Monumental Sports that says a new episode of the Rachel Nichols show that they have on their network is going to do a deep dive background look, including thoughts from Ted Leonsis on why they are building the Potomac Yards project. And you got me. I will watch it.
Deep dive, huh?
I'll watch it.
How deep is that dive?
We'll find out,
I'm
won't
going to
we?
go with
Yes.
very fluffy. That's what that one's going to be.
Look, as someone who works for an organization, I'm fully aware that there will be times when if I do something for their network that people will perceive it a certain way.
Sure, right.
So in this case, until notified otherwise, I'm going to go with this is going to be very propaganda, but I want to watch it. I will watch it. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I will watch it.
If at any point...
There's not going to be anything critical in it. There's no way.
I just want if at any point anyone says out loud, whether it's Rachel or Ted or Zach or whoever, and they actually say the line, you don't have to transfer more than 2 times to get to the arena, I will put that on my soundboard and have it forever.
Edit that out. Hi, everyone. Let's see. Meantime, the 9-46 Wizards lost last night to the defending NBA champs on the road, so whatever.
Did crush me on my 5 spot for my show, though.
Oh, yeah? Why? You took them?
Well, they were plus 15 last night.
Oh.
They've kept it close, and it's off the All-Star break. I thought, okay, like maybe tough shooting game for both of them. Yeah, no, not so much. The Nuggets just rolled them.
Yeah.
Joker, triple-double at halftime.
Yeah, that's interesting. We don't have anybody like that.
No one close,
I don't think
actually.
we've had anybody like that in a while. Triple-double?
Yeah, I wonder who has had the last triple-double.
Russ.
Yeah.
Russ had a bunch of them.
Had to be, yeah.
He did. He broke the record.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
There's an all-time moment. Russell Westbrook broke the record for all-time triple-doubles as a Wizard. The majority of them came in other uniforms, but he did do it as a Washington Wizard.
He actually has the most career triple-doubles for the Wizards.
Ever.
Ever.
How many? 12? Something like that? How many did he have that year?
It says 38.
He had 38 triple-doubles?
That can't be right.
In one season?
That can't be right. Well, how many would he have had? Yeah. He had 38 in 65 games.
Yeah, yes. He had 38 triple-doubles.
Just keep Russ.
Right. And we don't have anybody else who has that number, right?
Oh,
Ever?
No. The next one is Darryl Walker.
How many did he have? 6?
15.
Oh.
Do you want to guess the next ones?
Okay.
They're all names.
Triple-doubles?
Yeah, the next 2 players had 7 each.
Wall could have had a couple.
John had 1.
He had 1.
No, I'm saying he had one of their 7. So he had 7, and then there's another
7
player.
of them?
There's another player that scored 7 underneath.
Brad might have had a few triple-doubles. No, he's on that list? Huh.
Brad
He has no triple-doubles?
Brad has 2.
2 triple-doubles.
Which is kind of sad for him.
Well, but I mean, like, he'd have to have a lot of rebounds, and that's not what Brad was known for. Like, he could have a game where he had the points and the assists, but, the rebounds. John would rebound.
So John is tied for 3rd in franchise history with 7.
Okay.
Who's the other
7? Kevin Porter.
No.
Gus Johnson.
No, you're overthinking this. You just go,
Jeff Malone.
Go big name here, guy.
Chris Webber.
Weber had 6. He's right behind.
Okay. It's not Manute Bol.
No, it's not.
Muggsy Bogues.
No. It's Wes. Wes had 7.
Yeah, all right.
Gilbert had 4. Karan had 3. Kuzma has that 2. So he's tied.
Right.
He's tied with Brad for the franchise record.
So
in that
Russ
one.
had more triple doubles in 65 games in the uniform than any other
Correct.
player in the history of the
He doubled
franchise
it.
by a lot.
By a lot, yeah.
And Jokic had it at halftime last night.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the big story, of course, was Jordan Poole was finally benched. And I guess I saw some quotes where he was not particularly pleased about it, but what's he supposed to say?
I mean, tape don't lie, dude. I mean,
there was a highlight from last night, too, that was ridiculously terrible, where he's inbounding a ball. And he just, for some reason, kind of like fumbles it.
Yeah, that's the best word.
And the other team just picks it up and runs the other way. Like, it doesn't even, it's weird. Like, it's almost like, did you do that on purpose? Or were you just not paying attention? Or you're inbounding the ball. How did you drop it like that?
Yeah, like fumble's the right word, but I still couldn't wrap my head around it. Like he didn't even use any force behind it. Like
he just dropped it.
Yeah.
It was like it was slippery or something.
Right. And then
it slipped out of his hands.
He did the worst thing you can do now in the social media age is he like dropped it and then did like hands on the head.
Yeah.
Like, oh no. It's like, no, dude, go for the ball.
No, go get it.
Like, go get the ball.
Right. Like, well, he can't touch it first. They would give them the ball, but at least it wouldn't have looked like that.
Yeah, right. Instead, he's going full scorpion, as we like to say, and just panics.
It was a little like, what was that clip of the Pittsburgh receiver who saw the fumble in front of him and didn't try to recover it, and then started running the other way, and then after the game, they're like, why didn't you try to get the ball? And he's like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
It was one of those.
Correct.
He is and I saw this was before the benching. There was an article from Bobby Marks that said league executives look at it as maybe the worst contract in the league right now.
Awesome.
Because I said this like a week ago. I'm like, the only chance that he has to turn his career around is he needs to like play seriously within the context of an offense and become a, regular scorer.
Yep. Right.
And then he might be able to be tradable again. But there wasn't even a whiff of anybody even attempting to acquire him at the trade deadline. And of course, Washington would have traded him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, of course.
But nobody wants him because he's so unserious that everyone's like, he's just going to make us worse.
Right, correct.
He's not going to make us better. He's going to make us literally worse. That maybe Golden State knew what they were doing.
I think they did.
Because when they traded for CP3 for him, it was like, are you kidding?
Well, and it was also fit,
he's
too.
Younger? What?
It was fit, too, because everyone's going, CP3 doesn't fit with you guys, but you're giving up Poole for that?
Just get out of it.
Yeah, that's all they were doing.
Get out of it.
Because CP3 only had a year left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of it.
That's looking brutal. That's looking absolutely brutal now.
Yeah. Like I said it from the get-go, I go, that wasn't the plan.
Right.
They were shocked that he was available for that. And it was too good to be true. And as it turned out, it was too good to be true.
Right.
And they are sitting over there going, suckers.
Yeah, it's not great, Bob. Is that
No.
one?
The whole Brad deal was, I remember sitting there going, tell the whole story. Don't freak out until they move CP3. He's not going to be here. They turned it around. They got Poole, and I went, okay, that wasn't the plan. But like, come on, how could you not be happy about that return? 4 months later, it looks ridiculous that we're stuck with somebody with a contract again. It's not Brad's contract, but we can't even move his contract.
Right.
His contract is a number people could take on if they thought he was a valuable person for a contending team. They think he would make them 10 times worse.
Yep, right, exactly.
And they're right. Mm-hmm. So he needs to get a mentor or somebody to have a heart-to-heart with him because he's a very good basketball player who plays ridiculously. Like he's playing a game that no one else is playing, and it's not working for him either.
Pool party of one.
The pool party fell through.
Pool party of one.
Oh man, pool party of one.
It's just him.
So now he played 15 minutes last night.
And he did the old. I just want to control what I can control. Well, you can't control the ball there, guy. So
this is an all-time look in the mirror. You're on a 9-46 team, and they benched you.
Yes, correct. Yeah, exactly.
You should be not close, the best player on that team.
That's right.
But you're so far down the list of people they could trust, they had to bench you. You're supposed to keep them moderately competitive. You've made them worse.
Right.
It's hard to make a 9-46 team worse.
Correct. Yeah. No, I mean, this is a hard look because, you know, as much as we like to criticize Brad, Brad was out there at least scoring, making plays and stuff. We were just saying, you're making way too much money, dude, and you're not a 1-1 guy.
Yeah.
This guy's not even a bench player at this point. Should we fire up the Johnny Davis highlight video?
No. Well, that was the second you said Jimmy, I went, well, this isn't going to go well. And as it turned, I mean, this one, though, in the summer league, they went, everybody, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Back off of a first-round pick, like, I don't know. Like, he's not really a point guard. What do you mean? That's what you drafted him for.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I don't think he's that. They're like, what is he? We'll see.
Just punching Johnny Davis on the Twitter machine, and someone put a highlight video together of
I'm telling
him,
you.
and I've never seen a worse highlight video for anyone.
He is bricking 10-foot jumpers.
Teams, it became apparent, because it's a 53-second video, it became apparent 20 seconds in the video, teams let him shoot because he can't hit an open shot.
He can't hit an open shot. He misses 10-foot jumpers.
Misses
layups. Bricks layups. Or this is like
Where's the team psychiatrist with him? Right. I feel like that one actually might be salvageable if he could just hit some open shots.
I don't think so. I think we need to move on from that one. And I looked, they picked up his option, the club option for next year. So they got him for next year. And then there's like another option date that comes up later this year. And there's just no chance, I don't think.
God.
I don't think.
Brutal.
It is brutal. So
brutal.
The Go-Go have a $5 million point guard who's not a point guard. Does he even play point guard in the G League? I'd like to know the answer to that.
I have no idea on that one.
Maybe they'll do a special on it on the Monumental Metal Sports Network. I can find out.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, we'll get Rachel on that one. Find out. All right, I want to play this one quick bite from my new favorite basketball show, which is Michelle Beadle with Chandler Parsons and Lou Williams, who, by the way, I like both of them a lot.
Yeah, they're good.
They're good. With one exception, I want to point this out, and I will flag it when we get out of it. Chandler Parsons says something really dumb in the middle of it, but we'll get over it because his point is good. Okay. But this is about Giannis and what's going on, because everyone's doing they're the Eagles of the NBA. Nobody knows what's going on.
Exactly.
Like, we don't understand it. You're too good for this. We don't get it. And Giannis did this like soundbite, and they went off on it.
So stats, highlights, how people play, I have no idea, and I love it. You know, I love it when I go to the game. I have no idea who I'm playing and what they do.
All right, so.
But you know what's crazy? I read the quote. I didn't see the interview. And at first I was like, is this guy serious?
But now you think it's funny.
One, he's lying.
Clearly he's joking after seeing the interview. He's trolling.
He's just not a good joker.
But it's also not very funny because you have lost in the postseason. You haven't won a championship.
Exactly.
So it is weird to make jokes that kind of have some truth to it.
Lou's like, wait a minute.
This quote alone, take away all the accolades, everything that we know about Giannis. Just this thing alone.
Yep.
And we want to blame Doc Rivers for everything?
That's fair.
Like, you can't say that at the same time of Doc Rivers, you can't go out as the leader of the troops and say, oh, I like to come into games unprepared.
I don't know who
which is a
joking or not, it's not funny because you have lost in the postseason. You haven't won anything.
Which is a story, by the way, because if you guys don't know how preparing for a game work, you have scout teams, you have dummy teams, you go through the team's plays the day before. If you have a couple days of practice, you're going through everything they're doing. Yeah. So does he watch basketball? Probably not. A lot of us, we consider it
on his time off.
We consider it a job. When we're sitting at home, we're catching up and binge watching something else. But when it comes to game preparation, there's certainly scenarios where you have shoot around, film, all of these things that you can't avoid to get prepared for a game. So was he trying to say something clever? Sure, but it didn't come off right.
Yeah, and that goes into winning a championship, which obviously they did. They won the championship.
Course,
but you don't just roll the ball out there and play. It's a free advantage.
Okay, so Parsons caught himself because he initially said he's never won anything, which he has. He's won a championship. All right. So that was the dumb thing, but he caught himself. Someone got in his ear and was like, he's won a championship, so he had to mention that. But the point is true. Like, all of them collectively are now starting to sound crazy.
Right. Yes.
Rivers, I don't know if you've seen all of these things that are coming out now.
I talked about it yesterday.
Because he came out and said something else in this interview that he advised the Clippers to go acquire James Harden. And so now everybody's just putting Doc Rivers quotes on everything. Like, I knew Darth Maul was bad earlier before. And then they're just like...
Look at you dropping Darth Maul.
Yeah. He's doing like every single quotes from Doc Rivers on literally everything of how he foresaw the future because he's gone crazy and is trying to somehow... There's no defending him taking the job. He took it. He's trying to distance himself from taking the job by saying it was hard to do it. But how did he not know that going in? But he accepted the job. Now we got Giannis saying, and I credit these guys for saying this, preposterous things.
Yeah.
To sit there and go, I don't prepare for the games. One, that's not true. If it is, what's wrong with your organization?
Right.
If that's true.
Well, and it's also, it's not just that. We went over the quotes over the whole entire All-Star weekend. We told the whole story.
Yeah.
Where Doc was saying, I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy or whatever. And we're like, you took the job,
You
dude.
took it.
What are you talking about? Then you had Dame come out and say, I don't think like Dame time's a thing anymore. I'm like too old. I can't hit those types of shots anymore. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And then Giannis was going, it's not my team. It's Dame's team.
Dame's team.
And everybody's like, what is going on with you guys?
What's up with you guys?
No one is stepping up, or you guys can't stop just like starting new fires for some reason. Like you just keep saying things that get you in more and more trouble.
I feel like this isn't going to get better, actually. I think this is like the Eagles now. I think this is going to go just the wrong way. Like, and who knows why? Like, we still haven't figured out what's going on with the Eagles, which I'll get to that in a bit because those stories are weird. But like, this one is going in the same direction where you go, you guys are way too good for this. Like, whatever it is, just chill out.
Well,
like, what's going on? But they don't. Every time they speak, they say something that makes less sense.
I came to this conclusion yesterday. For some reason, the lackadaisical NBA attitude permeated that team. Like, for some reason, like we've been talking about it. No one tries in the NBA anymore, right? Like, that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, they don't try.
Unless you're Heat culture, right? But somehow a team that seemed to be foolproof with Dame and Giannis, who are just stone cold killers. Like, those are two guys separately.
These are first ballot Hall of Fame players.
But also don't give a you-know-what. Like, the latest knock on LeBron.
Giannis is one of the best players I've ever seen.
And who has been like, I don't want to be friends with you because I want to compete against you. Dame is the same way. Yet somehow now when they're on the same team, everyone's pointing the finger at each other. And it's like, how did that happen?
When he's saying weird stuff. Like, Giannis is saying weird stuff. Like, why would you say that?
Right.
I don't watch basketball. What do you mean? How do you not watch basketball? What are you talking about?
That one actually is funny, though.
The Doc Rivers ones are like laugh out loud what's going on now with him.
The Doc stuff is actually the stuff that would set me off more than the players. Because players say stuff all the time, and if they perform, who cares? But Doc is like, they brought you in, dude, to settle the ship, and all you're doing is rocking it harder, essentially.
You could have said no.
That's right, too. Yep.
Why didn't you say no?
Right.
All right, we'll talk about the Caps next. Bray, watch the show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. So I watched the Caps last night. That was a really entertaining third period. That was crazy. They beat Tampa Bay. A lot of good, a lot of bad. They were up 3-1 entering the third. They had, in my opinion, outplayed them, really.
Yep.
I thought they played really, really well. And then for about 60 seconds,
yes, correct.
They had a brain fart of all brain farts. Ethan Bear takes a preposterous bad angle on a guy, and he just ends up skating right around him and getting what was essentially a breakaway. So Lindgren couldn't do anything about it. And then they have this brain fart turnover 30 seconds later, and the game's tied. And then I went, oh, God. Like, that to me was the season. I went, oh, my God. Like, they're not going to recover from this. Like, they should have, they clearly were winning. They should have won, and they just blew it. And then all of a sudden, they turned it back on. They had a goal disallowed.
Yes.
Off of like a hair whisker offside call on Mantha.
They need to figure that out.
Hair whisker, right? So that gets overturned. I went, oh my God, it's not their night. And then all of a sudden, they just kept the pressure on, scored, took the lead, got an empty net goal, and won anyway.
Yep.
So that was very entertaining for sure. And I'll get into the Oshie thing in a minute because that looks bad.
That looks bad.
But that was a lot of. They stayed in the fight last night. That was a good one.
We had Sandine join our broadcast after the game, and he was really happy I scored that game winner because he was the one that had the turnover on their tying goal. It was a baffling, like the Bear mistake happened, but then the next one was Sandine had this just the worst turnover I've ever seen.
I've never been an NHL defenseman before, but both of those were ridiculous. The Bear one was even more weird. He just took this very odd angle, and the dude just skated right around him. I'm like, what are you doing?
Things you can't do against Tampa.
Correct.
Burn you on it. But no, Sandine was happy to score that game winner. Then McMichael, second multi-goal game in a row for him.
Yeah.
He's heated up. So I heard with him, by the way, that him and Alexi Protas, because they went on that run with the Hershey Bears, they had no time for the offseason. So what I had heard basically going into the All-Star break, those were the two guys to watch out of the All-Star break because they could finally do nothing for a week because they went right from the AHL into Caps training camp. Like there was such a quick turn.
Tired.
It was like, the joke with LeBron is he's played more games than anyone because he's just gone deep into the postseason. That's what happened with those two guys.
And then he's in the Olympics, and then he's in this,
and then all
he's
of a
in
sudden
that.
the season's starting up again. So that's what I'd heard with them, and that's why that line had kind of gone quiet, that the fatigue was setting in for two young guys that just weren't used to playing so much hockey and then playing it at the NHL level. Look at both of them. They both have been scoring. McMichael is the first Caps forward since Vrana to score 2 goals in a row, age 23 or younger. So he's starting to heat up. He's one of the guys that they need to keep scoring if they want to win here. And look, Alex Ovechkin scored again last night.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as hot as anyone right now, and they're rolling with him. And look, they took advantage of Tampa. Tampa had 2 rookie defensemen in the lineup last night because of injuries. They had to win last night, but it's really weird. The Caps are on this 3-game win streak. They haven't won 3 games in a row since December, and every game they've won, someone's gotten hurt. Like, someone major has gotten hurt every step of the way. It was Martin Ferravari, then it was Nick Dowd. Last night was TJ Oshie. I don't know how much more they can withstand this. Those are 3 major players for them that have gotten hurt now.
The Oshie one was scary. Non-contact.
Non-contact is always brutal, especially in hockey. Like, it's even
worse. He
went
down. He had to crawl to the bench. Mm-hmm. And I want to credit Victor Hedman, who tried to help him.
Yeah, right.
And then they got him to the bench, and he barely could get down the bench to get to the tunnel.
Yeah.
And they're just saying, they're not saying anything. They're just saying he's saying I'll be back, and Carberry was saying he ain't skating today or tomorrow, was the way he put it.
Yeah, Carberry even said high concern last night after the game, of course.
That looked terrible. I mean, I don't know what it was, but he collapsed to the ice.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Without being hit.
Right. And
it was bad.
What sucks with him, too, is he was 4 games away from 1,000.
Yeah.
He had talked openly how, he had dealt with some injuries, and he was really looking forward to hitting that milestone as an NHL pro, and that's got to wait now because he's obviously banged up. So,
all right, I got to put you on the spot. How you like my boy Willard now going to land a top 10 recruit? Player. What do you think of that, player?
He's back to neutral.
You were as of 2 days ago, you're like, I'm over him.
I was.
But I think you want them to fail on for something.
No.
Like they're like a team you don't like.
Stop this.
I don't know why.
No, that's not true.
You really are against them. I think it's because you're just against me and not really about them.
You're totally wrong.
You hate how optimistic I am about them, and you want me to be wrong. I don't know why.
No. You're totally wrong. You mistake my neutralness for negativity. It's because Terps fans, you included,
you smile when they lose, though, a little bit.
I don't smile. That's not true. But
you like when I'm disappointed for some reason.
No, that's absolutely not true. It's because with Terps fans, and you're one of them, there's no in between. It's either you're burning couches or the world is over.
Great.
And so I just take the season
I
game by
like
game.
living in that. It's the one team I have where we act like that.
And yet there have been
There's no other team where we act like that.
And yet there have been no couches burned since I was a child. So that's all I'm saying.
This is our Philly team. It is. It's the one team around here where the people who are engaged are really psychotic about the whole thing. I want to get a Go Terps tattooed in my lower lip. Go Terps.
Go Terps.
Go Terps.
All I'm saying
is... It's weird. I didn't even go there. I don't know why I'm so
that's how the area is. Yeah. I went to Maryland games, and I didn't go there either. That's just growing up here and if you went to school around here. But no, I'm a neutral party. I don't overly...
When they're good, there's no better atmosphere in the area when they're good. It gets rabid in there. That's why I love it.
I 100% agree. Yeah. I'm not against this, but like I said, I take a step back, and I let all of you guys go burn the couches, and I just take a hard look at what's going on. That's all. That's all. I like Loxley. Everyone likes Loxley, but... He's got to win some games.
My head is on straight about him. I don't have the same feeling about Maryland football they do about Maryland basketball. You know me well enough for that. My head's on straight about that. I don't think that they're going to end up being Michigan or Ohio State. I never think that because they've never been that.
Right.
Like, there's a limitation to where I think they could end up going, and I don't think Loxley's going to take them beyond that.
I don't think anyone's taking them beyond that with the way NIL is right now.
I agree.
So I'm actually at peace. I'm at peace with the football program.
With Maryland basketball, I might be a little delusional, but I do have historic precedent to say that they have been at the top tier of the sport in multiple different decades.
You're right.
And that's why I'm always like, the standard here is that, not what it's been under Turge and stuff like that. And when Willard showed up and he had the right, kind of psychotic look in his eyes and the attitude, and you should see him when he walks out on the court. He looks crazy. He is locked in and looks crazy. But I like that because I think that that's what Maryland basketball is, the locked in, looked crazy guy.
The only thing that he was losing me on is he was so weird with his players early on in the season where he was just
well,
like...
they were losing to, like, also-ran teams.
Sure.
It didn't make any sense.
But it's also, you're the coach too, man. Like, come on now.
Tell the whole story. Maybe Doc should have taken over.
Oh, God.
You know.
Should have stayed at ESPN, honestly.
He should have.
Should've.
Anyway, they got a big recruit. How about that?
Congrats.
Willard's crowing on that one. And he's a big guy, too. That's what I like about it.
What was he, 15th ranked recruit, I think, in the
Something
country?
like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's like 6'10".
But he's also from Baltimore, too, which is like...
Let's go.
Keep it in the family.
Well, back in the day, they couldn't get those guys. That was the weirdest part about Maryland being successful is they couldn't get those guys to stay.
See, I'm singing his praises over here.
All right.
I read up on it when I saw.
Yeah. You were a little bit like, oh, you knew I was going to bring it up, too.
Now, don't get disappointed when it all falls apart next year.
Like, secretly, I like when Georgetown is average to bad because it's funny to me. It's funny to me. It is. It's funny.
But they play at my arena and nobody's coming, Bram.
It's only funny to me because of how ridiculous their media department dealt with everybody
I'll give you that.
for so many years.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
We have to go to conferences in London to get the latest news on
that. We don't want to talk to you. I bet you want to talk to me now. There's 13 people at your games and you're 8-20. Bet you do. All right, I'll be right back. Bram, what's the show? He's been 6:30 at Sports Capital. Apparently, A.J. Brown went on WIP today.
Oh, boy.
So I'm like, I'm going to have to go through it in the break because I was going to spend some time talking about the ridiculous stories about the Eagles in the next segment, which are really ramping up in bizarro land. Like that start with the guy Big Dom being kicked off the sideline is the reason why Sirianni lost his mojo to Craig Carton saying things but vaguely, and Adam Schefter saying he's the Inquirer, and then there's all I don't know what's going on up there. Y'all are weird.
Everyone's losing their mind.
Everyone's lost their mind. But let me stay on the Commanders.
I was going to say I did see one clip, by the way. I don't know if this is new, but I guess Kelsey was talking with Chris Long and I think it was Lane Johnson. They were talking about the Super Bowl that they won against the Patriots. Mm-hmm. And he said the tension on that sideline, no one's ever going to know because they won. But that, like, remember Brady kept scoring in the second half?
Yeah.
And Kelsey was like, yeah, we were kind of looking at you sideways because we're like, stop, guys. Please, for the love of God. We have Nick Foles. Like, he's not going to be able to come back against that guy.
Guys. We like Nick Foles and all.
It was hilarious. It was really good.
And
Chris Long was also basically being like, yeah, me and LeGarrette played on New England the previous year. So we were like, we kind of need to get this one, guys.
Kind of need to do it.
It was really good.
Here's our one and only chance, guys.
I don't know if that was new or old, but it was really funny when I saw it.
All right. So as anticipated here, it is getting very clear that Chicago is probably going to trade Justin Fields and probably going to do it in and around the combine, right? Because that's when everybody's there. Yep. Everybody's now and it's going to get out because all the insiders are there. Yep. And they, I'm sure Fields not only wants to know, but I think they need to set the market at quarterback.
Yep.
They can't allow this to get to free agency. Once it does, any team that's like, we're interested in him, but we're also going a different direction will. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to sign Kirk Cousins. Maybe that team is interested in Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they don't want to pay him $50 million and they'd prefer to pay Fields whatever it is for a couple of years until they have to make a decision about him. Or, they just want a better quarterback situation and they want to know what the price is. And so I'm of the mindset that they are going to trade him. Yeah. I think that that's going to happen, which means Caleb Williams, we think, is going to go to Chicago. Mm-hmm. All right. So that puts us in this very interesting position now. Do we love Jaden Daniels or Drake May that much, to just take him?
Yep.
And I won't be against that, at all. Whichever direction they go, there's a part of me that is very intrigued by Daniels because of his skill set. And then I watch film of him and I watch him take these cartoonish hits and I go, oh my God, RG3 again. We're gonna get a guy who's gonna get hurt.
Right.
I'm scared. And then I look at Drake May and I go, hey, he looks like Herbert,
Right.
And then I see the film of last year, and it's a little bit of the Hal stuff where things didn't go so great, as the season kind of went along. Like, they lost to Virginia last year. Like, no offense, but,
No, exactly. No, for sure.
Yeah. It wasn't good. They were ranked pretty high because they had a quarterback who might be the number one pick in the draft, and they didn't win enough games to be ranked by the end of the year. So, that's not all on him, but let's not turn him into the ultimate winner because it wasn't happening on the college level.
Exactly.
So And they both look like very high-level talents, and I still think that that's what we're going to do at number 2. But if this is set in stone in the next week to 2 weeks, that Justin Fields gets traded, you hear about it, and he's going to wherever. And let's just say it's not Atlanta or Vegas, okay? The two teams that seem most likely, or Minnesota, because I don't think they would trade him to Minnesota. I don't know why they would,
Yeah,
right?
right.
The 3 teams that are hot to trot to get a quarterback. And all 3 teams we have no issues with trading with, right?
Yep.
And then it becomes very clear that the guy we want, Caleb Williams, is not going to be available because the Bears that's the direction they're going to go. I think they would take a tremendous amount of heat from their fan base if they traded Justin Fields and didn't take Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
they'd be freaking out on them,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
Like, so let's just say that that's what ends up happening here. Our phones start ringing off the hook. How bad do you want Mayor Daniels? And I think we need to ask that question right now because we're the ones that are going to get the calls.
Yeah, right.
If they trade Justin Fields, they're taking Caleb Williams. They're not taking calls, and there's no historic haul anymore. Right. They have to take a quarterback at that point, and why wouldn't they? If they think Caleb Williams is going to be Pat Mahomes, they're going to take him. So we're the ones that are going to be getting the phone calls. So I think that's what we need to think about here.
Mm-hmm.
If Atlanta, who's at 8, calls, because the reporting today on them is they don't want Fields, they want Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only way they can get him is trade with us, for sure.
That's right. Yep. Right. Exactly.
For sure, the only way they can get him is to trade with us. What do you want from them? You want Drake May that bad, or would you go down to 8? Where I was looking at this today, I could pretty much guess that we could get the first or second best offensive tackle at number 8.
Yeah.
And whatever, or if you really like J.J. McCarthy,
Right.
like really like him.
Mm-hmm. You could trade even further down if you like Penix. I mean, that's another option too. I mean, but
they need a lot here. Yeah. I think we should. I've said this a lot throughout this whole process. You're not in this position often. You really don't want to be, and because of the level of quarterbacks that are coming out, and because I think we need one, I just don't. I don't know how you turn that down, but. In this scenario where we're the ones on the hook for the calls from everybody else because Chicago's hanging up on everybody, I don't know what the price actually is. And if Atlanta at 8 is offering you the RG3 deal, 3 first-round picks,
right,
to move up to take May, who you may or may not have wanted at number 2 anyway, but it does mean probably foregoing Daniels because you probably won't get him. He'll go somewhere else. Would you do that? Pretty much assured of you're going to get one of these 2 tackles that look like they are 10-year pros.
That's right. Yeah, right. You get a decade at left tackle. Yeah.
Joe Alt and the guy from Penn State look like can't-miss talents.
Right.
And we need one of those 2. Mm-hmm. And we could get, 2 more first-round picks out of the whole thing? I don't know. I actually don't know. If that's the way it's going to go, I really don't know.
I'm full Adam Peters in Aura I trust over there. But, sorry, I didn't mean to make you spit out your coffee there. But if
Have you had the T-shirts made yet or no?
No, in Aura I trust? Yeah. No, I don't have that yet. That's a new one, so someone's going to steal it. But Eileen, you have to take a quarterback this high. I just don't think you.
I do
like I'm open-minded to trading down, but I am going to be staring at those other 2 quarterbacks for the rest of their careers. And if one of them, just one of the 2, end up being a stud, we turn into Bears fans. We turn into Bears fans that turn down Mahomes.
Who thought Chase Young was a bad pick? Nobody at the time, right?
You're right.
But what's happened ever since? Right. You could have taken Tua or Herbert.
That's right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
The only one you couldn't get was Burrow, who turned out to be the best of the 3.
Of course. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So at least that one, that was off the board.
Of course. But the other 2, though.
Thank God the Bengals didn't take Tua, because if they did and we passed on Burrow, people would freak out. Then you'd have a legitimate freak out situation going on.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think when you're in this position, and especially in today's modern NFL, and you don't have one, I think you have to take the lottery ticket and take your chances on one of the 2 quarterbacks. And I've come around. I was at first I was team May, then I was team Daniels. Now I read Ben Standig's piece, and now I'm team both. Like I want one of the 2 is what I'm saying.
Odds are they both won't be great.
I mean,
odds are
you have to swing though. You have to swing.
I agree. I mean, the gift from God would be the Bears fall in love with one of the other 2.
Right, but I think we know that's not going to happen.
I don't think so. I think there's going to be too much public pressure on them that if you do this, you have to take Caleb Williams. This is why I'd love to talk to Charlie Casserly, because he went through this where he got destroyed for taking Mario Williams over Reggie Bush and Vince Young.
Yeah, right.
And he was right.
Yep.
That guy was by far better than the other two, but they didn't want that. And I think that if the Bears do this, because there's been heavy public sentiment that they'd like to keep Fields, I think the right thing to do is to trade him and to take Caleb Williams personally. Start the clock over. You haven't won much with Fields anyway.
Right.
You can get value for him now. Like, why? Just do it. Do it. But if they, in their determination, think May's the better prospect? I don't think that to me is the gift from God. Because if that happens, we ain't trading number 2. We're taking Caleb Williams and we're moving on with our lives. And hopefully he turns out to be what we think he's going to be. I think there's going to be too much public pressure on them not to take him. That the pick has been made for you by the public. That they're going, you're trading this guy who we know is pretty good, and you're not taking the guy everybody says might be Mahomes?
Right.
Are you crazy? Mm-hmm. And they could be wrong twice, and then they look like idiots of all time.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
they have to take Williams because at least if it doesn't work, they could go, don't ever tell me that you thought we should have done something different. We did exactly what everybody thought we should do.
To the point with Fields, too, is I don't think Fields is a terrible quarterback by any means, but he has not done anything to warrant that extension. And I think you just have to pull out of that now.
Yeah, I mean, he did lead the league in rushing as a quarterbback last year.
That's
not last year, the year before.
Right, but they still haven't won because of it all, is what I'm getting at. Like, this is what great quarterbacks do. They win in spite of a bad team around them, and he hasn't done that yet. And it's once again, it's not like I feel like we're doing the who was the player that everybody was like, we all love him. Might have been Lamar. I think that where everyone was kind of saying like, it's not his fault. It's not all of his fault. I feel like we're getting a little bit with that with Fields now, but it's like the great quarterbacks win in spite of all of that stuff, and he hasn't done that yet.
He has not.
Right.
He has not. Now, all right, then I think you've answered my next question. But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
Because, okay, let's just say the Bears have determined they're trading him.
Yes.
And that they are taking Caleb Williams, who's the guy I personally want, but he's off the board. What are you going to do? Can't get him, right? And now Atlanta, Minnesota, the Raiders, whoever, Pittsburgh maybe, they're calling us because they want to trade up, and they are offering the picks they would have given to Chicago, but because to get this pick, right?
Right.
Would you call Chicago and try to acquire Justin Fields, then move down to 8 and pick the tackle?
Nope.
And get 2 extra first-round picks to boot?
No.
You get Fields, the tackle, 2 extra first-round picks.
I'd rather roll with Sam Howell than Justin Fields.
Ooh, I disagree with that.
That's fine, but what I'm getting is
no
value.
offense to Sam.
No,
I think that I've said this a lot too. In the modern NFL, these dual capability quarterbacks, it's not that Sam can't run. He can, but he's not that.
Yeah.
That the off-schedule stuff, to me, is so much of the success rate in the league right now. And like, this is why I'm kind of leaning Daniels over May, honestly, because he can do things that are indefensible. And if he turns out it clicks and works for him, he's going to be unstoppable.
I'm getting it as more as a compensation thing. I don't think it's worth giving up the extra pick to get Fields, who, yes, is better than Howell.
You will have him under control bare minimum for 3 years.
Sure. Yeah,
bare minimum.
Right, but then
you'll get your tackle, and you'll get 2 more first-round picks.
Right, and you're also going to be good enough that you're not going to be in this position again either. That's the other part about that.
Maybe.
They're going to be better.
And I will argue this too, Justin Fields has not had the support system around him to turn into the quarterback he might be able to become.
Yeah.
And look who our offensive coordinator is right now.
Right.
Look who our, like, right under him offensive coordinator is right now. Mm-hmm. Like, we might have the staff that works for him.
Right.
That staff in Chicago has changed his coordinator 3 times. None of them are considered. How many times did we say this when we played them? You guys aren't using him right.
Right.
Like, it's your fault. It's you.
Well, except for last year.
It took a while, though. Right, well, that was us. But, like, the same thing was the reason why I thought we were going to roll them, not only because, their record was when we played them what it was, but, like, they were doing the same things they did the year before where they tried to make him just as this pocket passer. Like, why? Like, his legs are his best attribute. Use them to your advantage. Don't stifle him. Like, the Bills don't tell Josh Allen you have to stand in the pocket constantly.
Right.
Like, he wouldn't be a good quarterback if that's what he was doing. So there's part of me that looks at him and goes, they have not put together a staff or a system that actually works for him. They keep changing it around him. His team wasn't very good at the time that was around him. When they did alter the offense that benefited him, he actually was very good in it. Maybe, just maybe, we give up a second-round pick. We get him in here. Kingsbury and Johnson run an offense that is way more friendly to his skill set, and we get our left tackle, and we get 2 extra first-round picks to boot with it.
You did a lot of jumping through hoops to convince yourself that Justin Fields is the answer. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is I think if we're going to be offered the historic hauls that Chicago's talking about, but they've decided we don't want it, we're just going to take Caleb Williams,
right.
Well, we're the ones that are going to be on the clock being offered things that are going to have to be listened to, especially if we haven't come to, we're not giving up on Drake May either.
Right.
If that's what they've come to and that's what they've determined, I'm with you. Just take the quarterback.
Yeah.
Take the quarterback. But if they feel like there's a humongous difference between Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels, how do you not listen to these teams if they're offering you a crazy haul when you need what you need? And especially in the case of Atlanta, where I read today that who they really want is Drake May. Well, we'd only have to go to 8.
Right.
And that, if you just project out the draft, 3 quarterbacks are going in the top 3 to 4. Marvin Harrison's going there. We're going to get one of those tackles. That will happen.
Or take cult leader JJ. That's my phrase, not your phrase. I need to say that just in case they draft him.
I wonder, how would the fan base react if we dropped to 8 and took him, but got 2 extra first-round picks to boot with it?
People would freak out. I don't care. Because
I think
they
so,
know.
too.
Because you and I have had this discussion with our fan base. You sniff out the weirdos, and that guy's got weird. Sorry to not make you spit your coffee out again. But that guy, grade A weirdo. He's Harbaugh light. And this fan base would freak out if they draft JJ. I'm sorry.
We can make fun of Harbaugh all we want. The dude wins constantly.
I know. But how this fan base works.
And I got to tell you, I don't think there are so many legitimate NFL scout people that are just kind of whispering if you watch them, it is better than what everybody thinks it is. Like that type of attitude about it.
As I said, though, this fan base works.
If we drop to 8 and take him, he better be as good as Drake May or people are going to lose it. But you'd get a premium for doing it. You would get 2 extra first-round picks.
Right. No, for sure. I see the benefit of trading down. I just think you need to stand pat and do the sure thing, though. I'm with you. You listen, all of it, whatever.
There's a weird part of me that goes, the double dip is we trade a second-round pick, get Fields, and then trade with Atlanta, move down to 8, go get his left tackle, and get 2 extra first-round picks out of the whole thing, and go, let's give Kingsbury Fields. He's an experienced player, multi-skill set player, hasn't been utilized correctly. Let's give him a second chance here. We know he can play. It's not that he can't play. He's not a bust.
Only if Fields starts running like Kyler Murray, like a toddler, that's doing something wrong.
Well, if I find out he likes Call of Duty, I'm out.
That's right. Right. I will say this, though, and I talked about it a little bit yesterday when I was filling in for you. My red flag is starting to get put up with Fields with how he's acting on the way out here. Because
I don't like the interview. I didn't like the interview he did. I thought it was a weird interview.
And the whole
I agree.
Why are you guys making a big deal about social media? Well, everyone's going to make a big deal about it on social media.
You did what you did because you knew it would get noticed.
Yes.
Come on.
And like, as I discussed, you can hit the mute button on any account you want. Everybody kind of knows that. And
if I put a picture of myself up in a bikini on Instagram, people would be like,
what's the big deal?
What's the big? It's just social media. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? It'd be like, you've lost your mind.
And to me, it feels like for Fields, he's let the fan support go to his head a little bit there. Like almost he's a little bulletproof, and it's like, that fan base is going to roll on with or without you, pal. Don't buy too much into it.
If he did it because his agent said, we're trying to push this forward, we want to make this happen faster. We want to get the Bears feeling the pressure to make the move.
And then following, though, Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Drake London on, like, you know what people are going to do when you do that, too. Like,
I think he's from Atlanta, right? I believe he is.
If he is still...
Yeah, I know, but like there might be I know everyone talks about this, don't go to your hometown team, but maybe that might be part. Maybe he wants to play for them.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe.
But like, once again, he's trying to downplay what he does on social media, and it's like, dude, it's the NFL offseason. We watch what tweets people like in the NFL offseason. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just like I said, my red flag is starting to be raised.
Yeah, he's from Georgia.
Okay, all right. Well, still.
He's from Georgia.
Okay, still.
And yeah. All I'm saying is they are going to move him.
Yeah.
If they do, they're not taking any calls. They're taking Caleb Williams.
Right.
We're not going to get the guy we want.
Sure.
Impossible.
Right.
Do we love May or Daniels? If we do, just take him. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Just take him.
Yeah.
If you don't, and the team picking 8th wants to give you something ridiculous, I think you have to think about it. And then you got to go, well, then who's our quarterback?
Right.
Maybe it's him.
Maybe.
I'm not signing Kirk.
No. I'm not signing Kirk either.
I'm not.
No.
I don't have the ill will feelings that I think some people did or do. I also think that his Q rating has gone way up over the last couple of years. He's also 35 off Achilles, and like he wants $50-something million guaranteed. Why in the world would I do that right now?
It's a bad combination because this offensive line is not going to be done in
Also,
a year.
this staff has a runway. You don't need to go do this to try to win immediately.
That's right.
I think everybody is going to be patient enough to go, just show me you guys are going in the right direction again, that you're building the roster up. I think anybody who reasonably looks at this can't expect them to turn it around and be a Super Bowl team next year. But it should be considerably better. With the cap space, with the draft capital, and whatever they do in free agency, I think that they've got an opportunity to build a very different, more competitive roster, and then new life in the building again, because like what happened last year obviously just went sideways on them, and I just think having a better atmosphere is going to be helpful too, because I don't think they have a terrible roster. Like they don't. Right. They have some very, very good players on this team. I'm with you. I still feel like taking the quarterback at 2 is the right thing to do, but if the deals that aren't going to be heard by Chicago are out there to be had, I think you seriously have to think about it, especially if you're not even going to be out of the top 10.
Full Paul, what if they trade for Justin Fields and draft a quarterback?
JJ? Oh, man, no. That's
No, at 2.
At 2? What?
They trade for Fields and draft.
No, we're not doing that.
Why not?
No.
Take as many shots at quarterback as you need.
I'm not doing that.
Then trade up into the first round and get JJ.
And then take Penix in the 4th round, too?
Yeah, let's go. 4 quarterbacks drafted.
I was like, what the F? I wasn't that bad.
Bruh.
He's like, week 12, I led the league in passing yardage. It wasn't that bad.
What have you guys figured out?
The other thing that happened in the NFL today was Xavier Howard was told he's going to be released by the Dolphins. He's making a ton of money. They also released some other linebacker, too, so they're making some changes down there. Howard's an interesting name.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, we got a lot of money to spend.
Right.
Kendall Fuller's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether they're going to re-sign him or not. And if they don't, we need a corner. I'm optimistic that Forbes with this defensive group is going to fulfill, being the top tier talent that he is. But that's being optimistic. St. Juice had a rough year. He got picked on a lot.
Yep.
We need another corner. So, and that's not happening at the top of the draft either.
Right.
And probably isn't happening in the early second round either. So he's a name to watch. The price tag is going to be very high, and that bump in the salary cap's good for people like him.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of people.
So it's going to be a big number, but we need it for sure.
Right.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital.